Usually you have to do a dumb intro.
Okay, well,
Say something dumb.
Something dumb. I don't know.
There you go. Hey guys, Michael coming back at you with another video. As you can see, there's somebody new sitting here. This is my friend Shannon.
Yep. Nice to meet you all.
And as you can see from the title of this video, is the undergraduate college or the university you go to actually matter? A lot of people get stressed about that. And I feel like in the long run, it doesn't really matter. If that's the quick answer. But we're going to go over some analysis a little bit. So the reason I brought Shannon here was because she's been through a ton of different universities, experiences. So just to go off that, give a little context for the lads out there.
Yeah, sure. So I actually attended Emory University for a year and a half. I did their undergraduate program at Oxford College. Super small. Like, no one has ever heard of it. And if you have, super surprised. So I did some time there. And then I was like, actually, I want to transfer. So I took some community college classes, took a semester off, and then I transferred to Berkeley because they have a lot of different kinds of requirements. Took some time there. In my high school experience, I took a class at UCI, and I also took a class at Harvard, and some classes at UCSD. So kind of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
And some of those were online, right?
Yeah. So I've taken classes online with Berkeley and actually community college. Like, all of my community college experience was online, just because it's easier and it's just like you can be at home and take classes there. So
say like the styles of teaching are different.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think the most eccentric professors you're ever gonna find are at Berkeley. Just because they're so out there, I think, like, in every way, politically, like, socially, you get some really interesting characters. And in fact, Emory also had some really interesting professors and teachers. The Dalai Lama. I didn't have him, but he was a professor.
Sick. That's pretty cool.
Jimmy Carter taught at Emory University, which is kind of cool. So you get a lot of different types of professors depending on the school that you're going to, and the personalities can vary really, really widely depending on your major too.
Okay,
so.
But also based on types. So like a community college versus like a university versus online. Are those like pretty different?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So community college, it's just more self-driven, I would say. So most of the time you're doing stuff yourself, and you're completing curriculum and keeping up with the course load by yourself. Not really like a teacher guiding, especially online, because you have no one there.
Yeah.
I would say at any of the UCs or any top 20, top 50 school, you're going to have very much your professor involved and another graduate student, assistant teacher basically involved in the process. So I think it's very different on how much time you actually get with a teacher or professor, depending on which institution you're from.
I've only been to UCSD, so I only know what it's like having professors. But okay, would you say like one type? So whether that's like community college online or like regular university, is one like super hard compared to the other ones?
Well, I think the hardest class I ever have taken, and I've taken some really weird classes. Like, I've taken like upper division as a freshman. I've done some like really odd things, and like science classes that I should have never taken, to be honest. But I think the hardest class I ever took was an online class with Harvard. And okay, so a lot of people will say Harvard's really easy, and I think it is, to be honest. I might have just gotten really unlucky with the class I selected, because it was a mixture of undergrad and then grad students taking the class. And it wasn't a department outside of, like, my context. It was econ, and I'm a poli-sci major. So that was difficult. But I found it was really hard at Harvard because they expected the baseline of knowledge to be so much higher than I expected for a class that anyone could take. So while I think the classes in general aren't that hard, they're probably actually pretty easy at Harvard, I would say.
The expectation was higher?
Kind of the expectation, but the reality is I just think the class itself, they wanted you to teach yourself. And I was like, I was used to a system where basically you're more guided, and essentially you're just thrown in with graduate students, and graduate students are significantly older too, which makes it a little bit trickier, I would say. But
the only time I ever took an online class was in high school, and I didn't do anything, and it was supposed to be for AP Environmental Science.
Yeah.
And I didn't take the AP exam because I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
So.
gotta love apes.
Exactly.
Gotta love it.
So if you had to choose one thing I always was curious about like people who either choose to go to like online classes or like community college versus university, is there like one thing that you think is missing? So like at community college, I know like social life, there's not really, or online class, there's not really social life. So if someone was like, hey, I'm gonna
the only social life in a community college class is the discussion boards where you're like, you roast someone or you like make funny comments. That's the only social life. So if you're expecting it for an online community college class, just don't expect that.
Okay, so you didn't say, do you prefer one over the other?
Rip. That's a really hard question because they're all very different. They're very different experiences I've had because I've had to take different kinds of courses.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, one of the most enjoyable classes that I ever took was at UCI, and it was a Chinese class. And I was the youngest one in the class by a lot, like 10 years.
Wait, so was this like a summer class?
I took this actually when I was in high school.
Oh, okay. Big flex.
Not really. Literally not really. It's just because they didn't have Chinese at my high school. But it was a really fun class because I was so young that like getting that college experience really like early on was just amazing. And in general, I got to see how the UC system worked. Okay. Which was a really good experience. And I think that if you have the ability to take a college class when you're in high school or at a local university, that's something super valuable. Just because you get like an inside
You get the experience, you get to see what it's like a little bit.
It's not that serious. Like it doesn't really like your grades in that class don't matter that much. I mean it does of course, but like if you pick an introductory level course, it's not going to be too hard. And it's going to be just really fun in general. And especially I took Chinese, and that was really funny. And I'm so bad, but it was a really good time, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, like, my AP classes senior of high school were, like, harder than my freshman level classes that I took, so don't need to worry about that. Okay, so just to hit the actual question, for you, do you think undergraduate college matters? Or, like, your university that you go to as an undergraduate? Or in what cases does it matter, and what cases it doesn't matter?
Yeah, so it really, this is a question that it depends. It depends what major you are, and it depends what you want to do after undergraduate. So if you're a person who wants to go straight into like the business world, maybe getting your BA is something pretty valuable in undergraduate. And yeah, your undergraduate degree is going to help you meet people and get those connections, and so it will be really important. However, if you're doing something that requires a degree afterwards, like political science, usually political science students go to graduate school or they go to law school. And so for me, I found undergraduate to be very fun, a really good time, but I didn't learn any of the essential skills for what I actually want to do, which was really sad to me because I felt like undergraduate was kind of just like that waiting period. You're like, all right, now I'm going to finally get to the thing that I actually want to do. But I think if you're going to jump into, a job right after school and you're looking to meet those connections, it just really depends on your major. So like CS, I think for you, I think it makes a lot of sense and you're going to find those connections. And so it's super valuable. But if you're going to go to like med school, you're going to be like, oh, I just have to get these done before I can do anything else, if that makes sense.
So do you think like for people that want to go to grad school, in that case, undergraduate college would matter? Say like you went to Harvard undergrad versus like going to some other local school undergrad.
You see, it depends on your grades and it depends on your major at any college, because it's not impossible that you could go to just like a local regional college and go to any graduate school, really, because if you have good enough grades and extracurriculars and recommendations, you can go anywhere. However, it can be a little bit harder when you're competing with people at really top schools, really top places, the elite, because some of those courses can be much more difficult. And so it can make the playing field kind of uneven. But I think there's always hope. I think that I know stories of people that, for example, I know someone who graduated the top of his class at Harvard Law, and he went to not a very good undergraduate school. It was just like a regional school. He did amazing. He was a physics major, actually, which has nothing to do with law. Yeah, it's physics. But actually, that makes a lot of sense, like, for law, but it's possible. You just have to apply yourself and do really well, especially on the exams. So if you're going to go to graduate school for maybe law school, LSAT is going to matter a lot. Surprisingly.
Okay, yeah, I know. So for my take on if it actually matters, like you, I think it really depends on what you're going for. Now, I'm not planning on going to grad school, so I don't have to worry about applying. But I felt like undergraduate college would matter if you're trying to get into like a really prestigious like graduate school.
Yeah.
Because I know like my friend, he transferred to Berkeley. Like during his undergrad because he wants to go to graduate school at Berkeley. And I heard there's a higher acceptance rate.
Yeah, there's higher internal acceptance rates. They say that it doesn't exist, but that's not true. Yeah. So, kind of unfortunate.
So depending on if you want to go to grad school, it might matter. But if you're looking to go into like a company, so like a large tech company or something like that, I think as long as you have the skills and you can show that you're coherent and know what you're doing, it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, there's a lot of other YouTubers you can watch that either are self-taught in something like CS. Yeah. They work at, the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebook, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I guess just lastly, for, people that are, gonna go to college soon, do you have any recommendations on just where to on where to go, or do you think they should always go to a 4-year university for undergrad, or do you think they should, maybe 2 years at community college or take online classes during the summer or something like that? Because I know money is also a big factor for people, so.
Yeah, so I actually kind of have a weird story about this because I actually, like I said, I went to Emory for 2 years because it was a really prestigious institution. It's a 4-year institution. But I went there thinking I was going to complete my full time there. Mm-hmm. However, it just was too expensive because I was out of state. Yeah. And I thought, well, I definitely need to go to Berkeley to save some money. And the reality is that actually my transference from a private institution to Berkeley, which is a public institution, was one of the lowest acceptance rates tiers ever. Really? So it was like, I think I had a 4% chance of getting in. Because the way it's ranked, especially for UCs, if anyone's interested in the UC specifically, it's community college, other UCs, and then private institutions. So it's at the very, very bottom. Really? So I actually had a very small chance of getting in through a transference process. So I highly recommend, if you're thinking about going to a UC, to save money and to make the process a lot easier, go to a community college because they also have agreements. So community colleges have this program called Assist. So you can ensure that certain classes will transfer over directly to the UC system. So it's a really easy way of getting all the classes you need, taking them cheaply, and then easily transferring. And they make it easy because they want people to save money and go to community college. Yeah. So the way I did it made it literally impossible, and I do not recommend because it was really stressful and I actually had to take a semester off. But I think that my best recommendation is definitely explore all the colleges you want to go to, but look at the financial side and look at potential for transferring. Some private institutions like Yale and Princeton, Harvard, they have a very small transfer acceptance rate. It's like, it'll be like 4 or 5 people. Like, really, like, I'm not even kidding. It's probably like 50 to be honest, but like, it's really small. So if you're thinking of doing something like that, I wouldn't recommend it because it makes it very difficult for you. But for community college, and especially a UC system or a state institution like Linked, it is so much easier and it's so much cheaper. And honestly, too, and I think in a community college, it's about using the resources that are there. So if you use those, then you'll be really successful at a UC, I think. I know for me, if money wasn't a problem, definitely go to a 4-year university because it's fun. But if money is a problem, I think look at your local options, because I know in-state you can get, depending on your financial situation, can get a lot of aid and almost go for free if you choose to go in-state. Or you can choose to go to community college, which is, a little bit less stressful, you think, and then, transfer to see if that's something you want to pursue. And then do you think they should, this is a little last question, do you think people should, try to kill themselves in undergrad? Take a ton of class, do a lot of summer classes, online class? Because there's a lot of people who are,
they just want to graduate super soon, or
Well, here's the thing.
they just push themselves. They take like a bunch of classes per semester.
You know what? During the actual semester, I would say don't kill yourself. Take like a normal load. Don't like try to do extra stuff. And if you really want to graduate sooner, because like I actually have taken like a year off in a weird way. It's too much to explain, but I've like actually taken like a year off if you count it all up. And I'm gonna graduate this year, so. The way to do it is really just taking summer classes, because people don't realize this. They're actually significantly easier because it's an accelerated time period and they can't give you harder curriculum and it looks the same. And you're more likely to get like a higher grade actually in the class. And I've done that many years. And they don't want to say it's easier because they're like, well, no, but it actually is significantly easier. And also, a lot of private institutions and UCs, they offer online, so you don't even have to physically be there. So that was really nice, because I took a really hard class over the summer that was supposed to be impossible, but it was online. So like they accelerated and made it really easy. So there's like ways to get around things for sure. And I think it's just, if you're trying to get done really fast, don't push yourself and look at all of your options. In addition, I think a lot of schools will offer like programs where you can take classes elsewhere and then transfer those classes in. So it's very possible to do it. Just don't, during the semester, don't do it, because you're gonna be so
hate
stressed.
Yourself so much.
Because everybody else is gonna be like, wait, why are you taking 6 classes when you're supposed to take 4? And you're like, I don't know. Like, don't do it. Just don't.
Would you suggest studying abroad?
Oh, definitely not. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Definitely, yeah. It's been really fun. Yeah.
If you guys want to see some study abroad videos, you can check them out. Maybe like
on my face.
Right, yeah, like right there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Michael again. Consider hitting that like button, that subscribe button down below. Tuning into a future video of mine, giving you bad British accents when you need it. Want to try British accent?
No, I'm not. But yeah, thanks guys.
Alright, that's about it. I'll see you guys later.
God, I'm not doing that. Nope.